The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Everybody, welcome inside a Wednesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. And Wednesdays are fun because we get to talk a lot of golf. Scotty Minter always in the athletic studios like he is every Wednesday. We have Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek Golf Course as well. And Scotty keeps popping in and out, so we'll try to see if we can keep him in the show. But we also have a very special guest joining us today as well from Boardman, the new AAC champion. She medaled in yesterday's AAC championship. We have Sophia Rivera joining us from Boardman. Sophia, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today as well.
Oh, you're welcome.
You got it. Let's go. Let's talk about this round yesterday. You shoot a 77. You get the medal in the AAC championship. I know that was a goal for you all season. What did it feel like to put together such an awesome round?
I was so excited for myself because honestly, I was very stressed all last week because I didn't do the best last week. I shot a 45 and a 43, which isn't bad, but it's not what I wanted. And so it just made me nervous. But then I was like, if I have a bad week now, next week I'm going to do amazing. So, and I just mentally prepared myself and it worked.
You say you mentally prepared yourself. What kind of things do you do to stay mentally sharp on the golf course, especially like you said, after a week that you knew you weren't up to your standard? What kind of things were you doing leading up to this week to make sure you were in the right mental frame?
I always tell myself, one shot at a time. And I watch golfers on YouTube, and I've seen them shoot like a 65, and then I've also seen them not do the best. So, and I just keep telling myself that it is normal. Not everyone is going to be perfect all the time, and it's just keep that in your head. It really helps.
So let's talk about this round. It wasn't the greatest conditions yesterday. It was a rainy day, and you weren't feeling your best. I know that. I know you weren't feeling your best yesterday as either. How did you get through all that? That's a lot to get through and to still shoot a 77.
Well, Sunday, I golfed at the South Course, and right after I was done, I was like, I do not feel good, and I was a little nervous because I thought my body was going to be real sore. But then Monday, I just went to bed early. My dad made me some tea and took medicine, and then I woke up, and luckily I was feeling good enough that I knew I could power through it.
And then talk about the conditions as well yesterday. I mean, it wasn't the best. It wasn't sunny and 85. It wasn't, beautiful golf weather. It was a little rainy, a little wet, a little soggy. How do you navigate through that?
Towards the beginning, it was just colder, and because it was colder, I was able to wear my lucky pants, and which I think they were pretty lucky. But it poured. My last hole, it was pouring, and me and the girl I was playing with, we just like putted just to get off because there was no way we were going to be able to wait for the rain to pass.
Brian Tolnar joining us from Mill Creek Golf Course, and he always adds great golf expertise to these interviews. I'm going to hand it over to him. He's got a few questions for you as well.
You got it. Well, impressive win yesterday. 9 shots over the second lowest score in that field. So that's pretty impressive. Like he said, the conditions weren't the greatest towards the end of the day there. What were some things that you really capitalized on that the other players in the field, seemed to struggle with to put a good score up?
So, Boardman and Canfield have one of the biggest rivalries, especially in golf. It's always been like neck and neck every other year. And my goal all season was to beat Canfield. Even though I love those girls, I think the girl I play with helped me do better because we just had fun. But the course was also longer, so I think maybe that had a part to do with it. Or when, say, they would mess up, it would get in their head, which is I do that a lot. But it didn't happen to me yesterday. Maybe it happened for others.
Well, I think, obviously the weather changing this time of year, makes the golf courses play a lot different and very similar to what you're going to see come sectionals, district, in a state golf tournament. What's your aspirations as we move along through finishing up the regular season with the 9-hole matches and the league championship yesterday, going into those sectionals and districts? And, what are you focusing on and what are you working towards as you prepare yourself for a run at the state tournament?
One shot at a time. Try not to let one bad shot ruin your whole round. And even if the weather is bad, it could, you just have to work with it because there's other people that are working with it. And especially at districts, they're going to do really good. It's very competitive at districts. And last year, I think I let the weather get in my head. Also, a bad shot. My first hole wasn't very good, and that I let it ruin my whole round, and I cannot do that this year.
What does a normal week look like for you when it comes to practice? What are the things that you do on a regular basis to prepare yourself?
So say I'll have maybe 2 matches. Just 2 matches a week, maybe, or 3. It's different. But then I'll go to the driving range a few of those days, and then my off days. And then I'll just try to go out with my friends. Last week I went by myself. And then on the weekends, usually I'll go with my dad and my grandpa, and we'll play 18.
And last question from me, and I told you this yesterday, I said, you made me look very good because I picked you to win the individual medalist for the overall tournament, so I couldn't be more happy about that. What are a couple of your things that really makes you enjoy the game of golf and what makes the game special to you?
I think your good moments are what keeps you going, and just the competitiveness against yourself. Honestly, I've noticed that it doesn't even matter who I play with. I'm still going to be so competitive. And I think I just love it. And it just keeps me going.
We saw Boardman's social media make the big announcement about your future. You're going to walk on as a YSU Penguin and continue your golf career at Youngstown State. Talk about that decision and what went into it and how excited you are to continue your golf career after high school.
So I looked at a few other schools before that, and then Coach Miklos, he reached out to me, or I reached out to him in January, and it was just a little email, and then he reached out to me again, and he said, there's actually some open spots. Are you still interested? And I was like, yes, actually I am. And then I talked to him, and he just pointed out that they play at Mill Creek a lot, and I just think that's really a benefit for me because I play there. And then I also like that I could just go home and see my family and my dogs whenever I want.
When you were thinking about Brian, you got it. You go.
I was going to say, that's some pretty cool stuff. I mean, not too many people get the opportunity to play their high school golf and use their high school career at the same place that their collegiate team plays. So that's definitely pretty special. From an education and an academic standpoint, what are you looking to do for a career path as you head into college?
So I actually have a few things. Right now, currently, I'm set on maybe forensic psychology or something forensics. Something along those lines is what I'm looking for. But if I'm going to be honest, I'm probably going to change my mind.
So if we have to talk about role models and inspirations before we let you go, and the people in your life that really drive you forward, and like you've already talked about bouncing back from tough rounds and rounds where you don't meet your standard. I'm sure you got people in your life that have your back that help you do that. Who are the people that you consider role models in your life?
Definitely my parents and my grandfather. Last week when I didn't do my best, my mom told me, she was like, it's okay to shoot that. And her telling me that really made me feel better about myself, because I was really just, not being very positive. But it was good to hear that and know that someone else likes that.
My last question for you before we let you go. We talked about bouncing back from the not so good rounds, but this is a great round, a 77. How are you going to not bounce back, but stay even and not get too high on a really good round and bring really good golf to your next time out?
Well, make sure I don't let shooting a 77 get in my head, because obviously that's not going to happen every time. It never does. And just I want to keep the same mindset that I had, like one shot at a time, because we play Canfield Thursday. So it's kind of like the same thing again. So one shot at a time, and if I hit a bad shot, that it is okay. Just let it go.
Tracy Rivera giving you some love in the comments. You're getting a lot of love in the comments. You're popular. We getting a lot of views, and we thank you so much for taking time out of your school day to come on and be with us and talk about your great round in the AAC championship. Congratulations. Good luck the rest of the way. And we can't wait to talk to you again real soon.
Thank you.
Great job.
Great
job, Sophia.
Sophia Rivera from Boardman, the AAC medalist from yesterday's outing. Brian, now that we have that taken care of, let's talk about the AAC championship as a whole. Obviously, on the girls' side, Rivera gets the win like you predicted, but you also nailed the team aspect. Canfield gets the team win. What do you see out of both Sophia Rivera and the team of Canfield on the girls' side of the AAC championship yesterday?
Well, I think we broke up a little bit there, but I can't emphasize enough what a 9-shot victory means as the individual honors. I mean, usually it's within 1, 2, 3, or 4 shots at the most. She more than doubled that. So, I mean, that's just how impressive Sophia's round was yesterday in the conditions at the latter couple holes that, wasn't ideal and conducive to playing golf. So I think, she got the most out of her game by almost 10 shots. She almost had a double shot, victory yesterday. So I think that's pretty special. And to be able to be the medalist for your conference, I think, takes your game to the next level. So it's super exciting. And in the way that the Canfield girls performed, Taylor Marone at 86, she comes in, runner up as the medalist. Top to bottom, they played the best out of everybody that was in the field as a team. But, both of those schools have a lot to be proud of and can hang their hat on based on how well they played throughout the course of yesterday. And the girls division finished a little bit later than the boys, so they played in a little bit more of the rain than the boys did. And then on the boys' side, you can't say enough to how well Canfield boys team. They probably have, out of everybody in the AAC, they have the deepest roster from top to bottom. So I think, having that slew of players there, one player was out. Svechkin Napolini was out. And then you also had Bryce Daggett was out as number 2. And I think the replacements for them came in and played beautifully. Nick Ambrose moves up to that number 1 spot, shoots 72, takes the medalist honors. Nathan Miller, comes in from that 5-6 position. They moved him into the second position, shoots 79. So it's a matter of what you're doing when other players are out of the lineup. And I think Nathan played a hell of a round yesterday. Bryce Roberts, same thing, shooting 76 in that the 3 or 4 spot yesterday. Very, very impressive. 3 rounds of the 4 rounds that were shot in the 70s yesterday, and that also included Zach Anser at Boardman, shooting a 79. 4 of those rounds, and 3 of those rounds were with Canfield, and the other being with Boardman. So I think, head to head, both of those schools deserve a lot of credit. And Canfield, the depth that they have. And, we always talk about in golf, when you get your opportunity, how are you going to make your success and measure your success? And I think Nathan Miller comes in, had the opportunity to get in that starting lineup and breaks 80 and shoots 79. Pretty darn impressive. I think it's very special for him and how he plays and how he's prepared and how he's gotten better over the last couple of years. So, very impressed by the underclassmen of that lineup and how deep that Canfield boys team is.
Last week, you told us how deep Canfield was. You were not blowing smoke. I texted you yesterday. I said, you weren't kidding about how deep this Canfield team is. When I saw those scores, I want to talk about Mick Ambrose being able to step up like he did. Not the normal number 1 by any means, but unexpectedly gets pushed up to the number 1, steps up big time, and actually wins the whole thing with a 72. How impressive is that to all of a sudden be put all that pressure on your shoulders to be, hey, you're a number 1 now, and then to also go out and shoot a 72 the way he did?
But I think that just goes to show you how hard their teams work. And I'll use the storyline. I'm not a big Tom Brady fan by all means. And if you recall, his rookie year, that second year when he really broke through and, Drew Bledsoe went out with an injury, Tom Brady comes in, made the most of basically his entry point into the NFL as a starter, never diminished the role of starter from that point on. And I think as you look at Mick Ambrose and, Bryce Roberts and Nathan Miller and their lineup of, mid-classmen and underclassmen as they prepare, to have the opportunity to get in that spotlight, it's pretty special to be able to shoot the scores that they're shooting, replacing the players that they're replacing in that lineup. And that's where I think, you can go to Campfield's depth on the girl side as well. They do a really good job with the intermediate or middle school ranks of getting kids involved. So they have that feeder system. Not too many schools in the area have figured that out or have gone down that path, but you have to have, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders training and preparing for their freshman year. I think it speeds and advances them up, and it gives you a lot of depth from 1 to 15 on your depth chart, because I think Campfield has about 15 or 16 kids on that team. So, their feeder system and what they're doing at the middle school level, getting kids involved and doing some stuff in the fall, I think is, really put them in position. Next man up. If you have an opportunity to get into that starting 5 or starting 6 when you're playing your 9-hole matches, I think it's vitally important that you are well polished and you're ready to go. And they've definitely figured that out as a program as a whole. And I think Mike Karinsky and Dean Connolly on the other side do a wonderful job of making sure that they have this pool of talent as they go forward. So definitely a special place, and definitely they've got some great players that you're going to hear their names as we move forward from this point on into next year, into the year after, as they go into a sophomore year, junior year, senior year. But, top to bottom, hats off to Canfield. Both programs had the opportunity to win a team title. And then the 2 individual medalists, Sophia on the girls' side and Mick on the boys' side. Like I said, they really made me look good because that's who I picked going into it from last week. And the kids played and performed at the level that I've been kind of watching as an outsider, kind of looking in at what they've been doing through the course of the year between high school matches and invitationals that we host. But, wonderful job and 2 great programs. And, we're happy to have, some of the teams that play in the AAC call Mill Creek home to be able to give them that bird's eye view type of look.
We talk about the depth of these teams. How much credit can you give the coaching for being able to get a bunch of kids all playing at the high level that they're playing instead of maybe, like 1 or 2 like we see some teams have? But Canfield coaching staff on both sides, getting everybody to buy into the work ethic and everybody to buy into shooting really good rounds every day?
Well, I think it goes without saying, high school coaching, and having done some high school coaching up in New York and a little bit down here many moons ago in Ohio, it's the time and the effort that you put in. There's some great coaches out there that are not doing it for a paycheck, and they just want the kids to learn and advance and get better. And there's some other coaches that are just there for a paycheck. So depending upon what direction your program is in, it's important that the coaches are there for the kids, and they're there to make the program better. They're there to build a program. They're there for the long term. And I think, Mike Karinsky's been in and out of the Campfield program for 20 plus years, going back to almost when I played. And I just think, there's some great coaches that at the end of the year, when you look at your paycheck, you probably work for about 15 cents an hour, but those are the ones that seem to get the most out of their programs and have the time that's invested that's necessary. Number one, have a group that gets good grades in the classroom, number one. And number two, they're practiced well, they're positioned well to be able to play in elite events, like your conference championship, like your sectionals, like your districts. And I think from that perspective, it's how you prepare your kids, to really just keep taking that next step on the ladder that gives your program, monumental success top to bottom, and the depth that they have in building that, feeder system, whether it's the middle school, whether it's junior golf, or whether it's, being part of something beyond just the high school level that gets you rolling into that position.
Brian, before we let you go, I want to give you the chance to give Mill Creek the billboard and give them some pub. Mill Creek Metro Park's always a great sponsor for YSN. What's going on down there at the park this week that people should know about?
We've got a lot, on the recreation side, we've got Tiny Tyke soccer, just getting ready to go and getting ready to roll here. We've got practices and stuff. So we're excited that on the rec side. We've got about another month and a half of our par 3 course being open. Usually opens all the way through the end of November, and the weather's been really, really good. We've started doing a little bit of aerification on tees, and we'll do some on fairways and roughs. We won't do any greens aerification till after the Roseanne Schwartz NCAA Invitational's over, sponsored by YSU, in basically about the first week in October. So we'll have the north and south courses done then. But the weather's been tremendous through the month of September, and really this past spring. We got off to a great start and been very fortunate. And then the upstairs construction with the Indoor Player Development Center that we are going to launch here probably around or shortly after Thanksgiving. The stonework is going in. The TrackMan units will be installed come Monday. They did the electrical switchover today, so we were without power for a little bit, but it's been back on. We got a bigger power grid. We're going to heat and cool the building for the first time ever in the history of the field house at the Metro Parks. Now we don't have to winterize it. It's, we're going to keep it open 12 months. The food vendor will be in here 12 months. The upside of what's going to happen upstairs and what we've got brewing up there is going to be very special, to being able to give us the ability to give our patrons and customers here 12 months of golf, and give the golf teams that play here 12 months of golf. We'll have an indoor chipping and putting area. We'll have a Callaway fitting studio. Opportunity to come out and hit balls and participate for the months of November through basically March, but it's going to stay open 12 months. But I mean, you've got a component that plays golf indoors. You got a component that plays golf outdoors. So we'll have 12 months of golf starting late this fall. So we're super excited with that. And the construction that's going on down at our Wick Recreation area with the old indoor, basically ice skating rink, warming house. We're turning that into a recreation center with offices and a food and beverage component, a banquet room, better locker rooms down there. So, really making the Wick Recreation area the premier property when it comes for recreation here at the Metro Parks, and then the construction we have on the golf side. So a lot of special things happening, a lot of special big projects will be wrapping up by the end of this year. So we're excited about that for sure.
Most important thing you said, the food vendors are going to be there consistently. You put food in the bellies, you're going to make people happy. Brian, thank you so much for
good burger and beer and a couple swings makes a good long winter. Yep. Play a little bit shorter.
Brian, thank you so much for joining us this week and taking time out of your busy schedule like you do every week, talking about high school golf and Mill Creek Metro Parks as well. We wish you the best week that you can have, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday.
Right back at you. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna pop Scotty and see if we got him. Scotty, we got you.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right,
here.
Scotty. We figure things out at Running Point. Good job. Thank you so much, by the way. Couple shout outs before we go to break. We want to thank Alyssa Birch from Boardman High School for setting up that interview and giving Sofia Rivera a place to do it. And she is doing a great job now as the kind of head of the PR department in Boardman Athletics, kind of a quasi SID, if you would. And Alyssa Birch did a wonderful job setting up that interview for us on short notice after Sofia Rivera won the AAC championship yesterday. So I wanted to give her a shout out and thank her for giving us the opportunity to do that interview with Sofia Rivera. I want to thank Brian Tolar for obviously giving the time. And I want to thank DJ for getting you set up and being able to work through some technical issues down there at the athletic studio to get you back on here on a Wednesday, because we love Wednesdays with Scotty. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, Scotty, we're going to recap the night, and after that, we'll see what's on your mind. It's a dangerous thing.
It's always not like Baker dangerous though. It's
no, not that.
Yeah.
We'll be right back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
Hardwood's uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun, it all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Nice little drum solo there in that Dickey Electric commercial. We thank all of our sponsors, but especially on Running Point, we thank Greenwood Chevrolet above our heads for being the presenting sponsor of Running Point. They go the extra mile for you. We try to do the same here on this show every single day. We'll continue to strive to do that. We thank Greenwood for being a sponsor of Running Point. Scotty Mitchell in the athletic studio with us on a Wednesday. Scotty, we're going to bring up the Ysn scoreboard, brought to you by Burnett Pools, Spas, and hot tubs to talk about the night that was last night. We had some big, meaningful volleyball matchups when you talk conference standings, and we had a couple of them that we're going to talk about as we run down the scoreboard, which is a great tool for Ysn fans. If you want to quickly look at the scores of the night, make sure to go to ysnlive.com/scores. Once again, brought to you and presented by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. We thank them for bringing this awesome tool to our fans. Volleyball, we'll start with that. Pymatuning Valley gets the win in straight sets, 3-0. Jefferson pulls out a thriller in Ashtabula County, 5-set victory over Edgewood. We have Orange getting dumped by Perry, 3-1. We will do these three rows and then we'll scroll over to the last one. So I don't want people to get lost. We're not skipping West Branch Salem. We're just going to do these first three and then we'll scroll over to the last one. Boardman was able, Lakeside, was able to beat Conneaut. I saw that Spartan, Scotty, and my brain went Boardman, but it's Conneaut. Lakeside sweeps Conneaut 3-0. We go to Brookfield. They fall to Newton Falls in straight sets. Archbishop Hoban emphatically beats their crosstown rival, Division One St. Vincent St. Mary, 3-0, and no set was more than 25-10. The Knights are putting together a very special season down there in Hoban. Champion and Liberty play a thriller. Champion gets to win in 5 sets over Liberty. Crestview goes down to Garrettsville Garfield. They win. And guess what? It's just the same old for Crestview. They sweep Garrettsville Garfield. They have not lost a set inside the MVAC in over a season. It was 2 years ago. I say this every time, I think, but we have to. It's so amazing that I have to keep bringing it up. Haven't lost a set since Brookfield beat them 2 seasons ago in 1 set. They didn't beat them in the match, but they took a set from Crestview. So Crestview is still undefeated, undefeated in the matches, undefeated in the sets inside the MVAC. And we'll have to do some numbers on how many consecutive matches that is. They haven't lost a set yet this season, MVAC or otherwise. And Crestview's undefeated as they roll into a matchup on Thursday with undefeated LeBray for first place in that MVAC. That'll be a fun one. East Palestine did some damage as they beat Latonia in straight sets. Jackson Milton got a win under their belt. They were struggling. They get a win, 3-1 over Waterloo. Congratulations to the Blue Jays. Hopefully they can find some positivity going forward after getting that dub. Lakeview goes into Girard with first place on the line, and they sweep the Indians in straight sets. A really awesome volleyball match down there for the Bulldogs. We have Lisbon beating Valley Christian 3-0. We have Malvern beating Heartland Christian in 4 sets. Wyndham swept Matthews in straight sets. Middle Ridge, no trap game involved there as they go to Springfield and get the 3-set victory. Poland gets beat by Boardman 3-1. Western Reserve sweeps Sebring in 3 sets. Southern and United play a thriller in the EOAC. Southern comes out on top in 5. And now let's scroll over to the last row, the final row. Let me get the scroll bar here. If I didn't lose my cursor, that'd be great. You know what? I'll just use my arrow. There's my cursor. You gotta bear with Anthony's terrible vision every now and then. So we'll go over to the last row. West Branch sweeps Salem. They win that rivalry matchup 3-0. Camel, they fall to LeBray in 5 sets. LeBray, a big win there because it keeps them undefeated, and they still have a chance to shock the world and beat Crestview on Thursday and take first place in the MVAC grade tier. We have Niles getting swept by Hubbard 3-0. McDonald, in one of their best performances of the year, sweeps a very scrappy Lowville team, and none of the sets were close. So they really put a lot together. McDonald gets to win at home against the Rockets. South Range sweeps Struthers to end the first round of NE8 play and go into the second swing of the league with some confidence. And then the biggest win of the night goes to Columbiana. They sweep Wellsville, and they end a 76-game EOAC win streak held by the Tigers. You can officially say, well, you can't say the dynasty is over, Scotty, but the win streak is definitely over, and Wellsville's chances to win the EOAC definitely got a lot harder because now they're going to have to split with Columbiana. And if they want it outright, they're definitely going to have to hope that Columbiana slips up. And if they want it, to share it, they definitely have to beat Columbiana a second time. So a big win for the Clippers is once again they end the big win streak by Wellsville that had 76 straight games won inside that EOAC. Columbiana wins it in 3. And really it was dominating. It was dominating. After the first set was 25-21, the next 2 were 25-10. So Columbiana runs away with it, and they're putting together a very special season in Columbiana. The Clippers looking good. Let's go to boys soccer. We had Hubbard and South Range. They tied at 1. Lakeview beats Niles 4-0. Canfield, they get the dominating victory over Warren Harding 7-1 inside the AAC. We saw Poland beat Girard 3-0. Howland, the big bad wolf, or I should say cats in the area, one of the best soccer teams we have, one of the best programs we have. They get the win 3-0 over Austintown Fitch. Bournemouth and Badger, no one scores in this one. It's a 0-0 tie. We have United and Ursuline playing a very wild one. United gets to win 5-4. A lot of offense going on in that game. And then last but not least, Archbishop Hoban storms the beaches in Normandy and gets the 6-1 win over Normandy in boys soccer. So that is your scoreboard, brought to you by Burnett Pools and Hot Tubs. Towards the end of the show, we'll go into Wednesday's scoreboard and we'll preview the night that's coming up. Scotty, we'll bring you back in here, buddy, as you go over that scoreboard. You see all the scores. Or is there anything that stands out to you as super impressive?
Well, I like your World War II little reference there.
When you call your high school Normandy, you open yourself up to that headline.
Yeah, you know? really do. I think obviously, like you said, Columbian and what they were able to do against Wellsville and that streak, that's got to be number one up there as far as what stuck out with the volleyball. But also, I think was it McDonald that faced my Rockets?
Yeah, Scotty.
I mean, like you said, the Rockets are that's a pesky bunch.
They are.
Louisville.
Even in games when they've been swept this year, Scotty, the sets are pretty competitive. They play really good defense. They have some offensive weapons. They're a very young volleyball team. I think they're going to be good in about a year or two. I think they're going to be a problem in that MVAC Scarlet tier, especially when some of these really big seniors graduate out of some of these schools. But yeah, Louisville is hard to dominate, and McDonald went in there and beat them quite handily. So it was really impressive for the Blue Devils.
Yeah, it was, and I'm really looking.
Sorry about your luck.
Not just not. And I think, like you said, long term, I think the Rockets will be pretty good. But in the short term, really gonna be keeping an eye on the Blue Devils the rest of the way and how they finish the season out.
That's a big win for them to look really good and to put a consistent game out there. They were on a little bit of a skid where they weren't playing their best volleyball the last couple of weeks. So to go out there and play a team they should beat on paper. But like I said, Louisville's a hard team to dominate, and McDonald dominated them in 3 sets. There wasn't really a set that was close. So to do that consistently and to be able to put that kind of game together, really good for McDonald going into the second round of that MVAC play. They're definitely hoping they can sneak out and steal a win over maybe Middle Ridge or Western Reserve in the second half of the season. We'll see how the rest of the year goes. They have great players. They have really great players on that volleyball team. And even though they haven't performed to the best of their ability yet this season, they definitely are not someone, I should say, to be slept on.
I definitely agree with that. Also, I was impressed with, I think it was Lakeview. I think they had the victory last night, and that they're a team that I'm keeping my eye on as well.
Yeah, Lakeview Volleyball goes into Girard and sweeps the Indians, and was a battle between 2 undefeated teams in the conference. So it was its first place literally on the line, and everyone came in expecting like a 5-set knock 'em down thriller, and they were all competitive sets. But I think, Scotty, it was clear the whole night that Lakeview was just a better team that night. I don't know if they're a better team overall. Who knows? We'll have to see how the season unfolds the rest of the way. But that night, last night, they were the better team, hands down. They were passing the ball so much better than Girard. It seemed like every pass for Lakeview was right on target. Setter Mallory Mylock, who's already a really good setter, didn't have to move that much, so her job got a lot easier. She was able to spread the ball around. You look at the first set, everybody except the libero in the first set had a kill. So you really had a spread out offense. Girard's offense came from pretty much two players in Nico Cochran and Brie Littell, who are really good in their own right. They put the balls down, and there wasn't too much of an answer for them when they were swinging hard. But then Lakeview countered with a balanced attack, and at the end of the day, the balanced offense was the difference for Lakeview and their ability to have really good ball control on their side of the net, be in system a lot more than Girard was. And usually in volleyball, when it's two good teams and one team is in system a lot more than the other, that's a recipe for a win for the team that's in system a lot. So Lakeview did a really good job. Their defense plays really, really well. Coach Guthrie previewed that in her coach's corner to preview the season. She wasn't kidding at all. This team is a very good defensive team. They pass really well. They make life easy for Mallory Mylock, who's in her first season as a full rotation setter in a 5-1 offense. Split the 6-2 with Maggie Pavlansky last year. So to see Lakeview really play strong defense, making it easy on their offense that lost a lot of firepower last year. You know, you take away Tara Lytle, who's the offensive player of the year of YSN last season from graduation. You take away Emma Schmader, you lose a lot of kills. A lot of kills are lost. But now they're spreading it around a little bit more. So you're not going to get that night where you have one girl with, 20 kills like you would with Tara Lytle. But you're getting nights with, 5 or 6 girls with 6 or 7 kills, which can be just as lethal.
Yeah, balanced attack there. And, maybe, for Lakeview, it looks like, they're still, obviously they're finding ways to win. Maybe it's just a little different formula with that great defense.
Yep, it is. It is definitely a different formula. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because last year it was feed Tara Lytle. That was the recipe last year. She was a monster. Get her as involved as possible. Most teams didn't have an answer for her at all. So that was the game plan last year. Feed Tara Lytle, get her a little bit of help every now and then from the offense, but let her get her 20, 25 kills a night and let the chips fall where they may. This year, it's get everybody involved, try to make really good passes, and you can't have a balanced attack without good defense, and they're really doing that really well.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, Anthony, I know you wanted to get my thoughts on some things. I have an idea on what I wanted to talk about today, but before we do shift gears here, what is something that we haven't talked about that really stuck out to you? Because you asked me, now I'll ask you about even not just last night, but more recently.
Let me bring up the scoreboard again. One of the things that I wish I could have been in this LeBray Campbell matchup in volleyball, because it was a great match. Two teams playing each other really hard. And LeBray needed it bad. LeBray, if they wanted to set up any kind of hope of getting the big upset on Thursday and trying to win the league, they need to beat Campbell. They couldn't sleep on Campbell as they're getting ready for Crestview on Thursday. So I really wish I could have been on that game. Obviously, first place was on the line in Lakeview, so that took priority to be there. But that LeBray Campbell game was such a good volleyball match between two teams that really wanted to win in that game. Props to the Vikings for pulling it out. They'll go into Crestview on Thursday. Scotty, this is something that I'm going to be saying for the next 3 days until we get to Thursday night and Friday, recapping Thursday. Grace Hour has the opportunity on Thursday from Crestview, Grace Hour from Crestview, to do something that I don't believe anyone in this area has ever done. I can't find anybody. I've been digging all week. Coach Hour has been digging with me. She can't find anybody. And I'll tell you, if Coach Hour can't find it, like, she's a volleyball encyclopedia when it comes to players in the area that have done stuff. We haven't seen anybody do what Grace Hour is going to do on Thursday, which is already has 1,000 assists in her career as a setter. She's gonna get 1,000 kills. She's gonna get 1,000 digs. That's a three-peat in the 1,000 club. We have a couple of players that do 2. No one's done 3. Not in the area. Maybe not in the state. I don't know. I can't dig through the statewide volleyball everybody's career and see who's gotten three of those categories. But it is so ultra rare to see someone get 1,000 in all 3. And Grace Hour has a big chance to do that on Thursday against LeBray.
Assist, kills, and digs.
And digs.
Wow, that's
already has 1,000 assists. Did that last year, going for the kills and digs on Thursday, and she's less than 20 on both of them. So odds are she's gonna get them.
Yeah, man, that's really gonna be a treat to watch for sure.
This Crestview team, Scotty, they've been good. But I think they're the best Crestview team I've seen them have in a long time, in ever. Probably, but I think Coach Howard would say it too. Best Crestview team ever right now that they're putting together on the floor right now. They're mature. They're playing really good defense consistently, no matter who they're playing. They're putting teams away quickly in these MVAC games. They're consistent. They're not making errors. Abby Emsch grew even taller, so now you have like a 6'3" middle blocker, which is almost impossible for a lot of teams in the area to even contend with because you can't coach height. And if you don't have someone that's 6 foot or plus trying to block her, she's going to have a field day. I think this Crestview team better than last year, and last year was pretty dang good. So it's going to be exciting to see what they can put together throughout the rest of the season.
For sure, certainly. You being like having, an expertise in volleyball. What do you think when it comes to the assist, kills, and the digs? You talked about that rare feat.
It really is because you can see someone if they're a 6'2" setter. 6'2" for people that don't know just means that you rotate with another setter, which Grace Howard does. She's a setter when she's in the back row. She's a hitter when she's in the front row. But most 6'2" setters aren't also the main attacker when they're in the front row, and not being a setter. Most of them are just there for most of them actually get rotated out. They have someone else be up there in the front row to be a hitter. When you run a 6'2", you want 3 hitters in the front row. That's why you do it. You don't want your setter to be in the front row and take away a hitter's position. So you don't see a lot of setters that are in a 6'2" offense that are also the team's leading hitter. It just doesn't happen. So you get the kills. A lot of setters get the assists and digs, and there are really good volleyball players that have been able to get kills and digs because they're full rotation players and they're really, really good. They've gone on to do really great things. Kristen Osborne for Heartland Christian, I think, is the most recent that did that. She has the state record for most kills in a season, graduating, I believe, 2014. But you almost never see someone do all three because if you're getting assists and digs, you're staying in the back row as a 6'2" setter. And if you're getting kills and digs, you're usually not setting too much. You're usually not your setter. So to see someone do 1,000 is ultra rare. I don't think it's ever been done in the area. If someone knows someone that's done it, please prove me wrong because I've been digging for the last 5 days and I can't find anybody that has done it in our area ever. So it's going to be a special night in Crestview on Thursday.
Looking forward to that for sure. Anthony, if it's okay with you, I thought we can switch gears a little bit to
let's switch. Let's go.
The high school gridiron, and
right.
I wanted to talk specifically about Austintown Fitch this season, and they obviously they started the season with a super convincing win.
Yep.
1-11, and then week 2 they had that. I think it was Central Valley and PA. They had that game where many people were stunned that they lost it and thought they really had control of that one. But since they've been really impressive, and most recently taking down St. Ignatius, a school who I believe has won 11 state championships.
They have, and Fitch has only played them now 4 times in their program's history. Now they're 2-2 against St. Ignatius. when you look at that game, Scotty, you look at how, like, I don't know if you watched it at all or saw the highlights that popped up from it, but St. Ignatius was huge. Like, their line was big. Their safeties looked like linebackers in most teams. They were a big team. And what I saw from Fitch is just this uncanny ability to never say die. They're down late in the fourth quarter. They need a touchdown. And literally the clock's ticking. I think there was like 20 seconds left, and they had the ball inside the 10. And they just pull off a dramatic last-second touchdown just to force it to overtime. Then you go into overtime. You get the ball first, which I think is really important in these overtime rules. People argue what you want to do if you win the coin toss in college football and high school football. I've always been the guy that wants to get the ball first, because then no matter what happens in that first drive, you know what you have to get. You know what do you have to do on the defensive side. A lot of people say the other way. I want to set the tone. I want to say, hey, whether we get a field goal, touchdown, or we don't score, our defense knows exactly what the job is in the next overtime. Well, in the next possession. So Fitch gets the ball first in overtime. And Deshaun Vaughn pulls off an amazing play. It's just escape mode, right? He's in panic mode. We see a lot of quarterbacks do it in the college level and in the pro level, where they're escaping. They're trying to just find a play. He breaks contain and just jumps to the pylon and gets to corner that pylon for the touchdown. He's an athlete coming off that injury that ended his season last year. So good to see him back on the field for sure. So doing that, and then St. Ignatius goes and scores. So it's 7. It's scored. Now I really thought St. Ignatius was going to go for 2. The touchdown, they had a wide open hole. He ran through it. They had a lot of momentum. I don't think they wanted to try to stop Fitch again. So I really thought, okay, they're going to go for 2. And important to note that it's the first-year head coach for St. Ignatius. Their legendary coach retired last year that won all those state championships that you were talking about. First-year head coach, maybe some inexperience, calls a timeout, and then goes out and kicks the extra point instead of going for 2. And then the next offensive possession, I'll tell you what, that offense for St. Ignatius did not look confident. Like, they didn't look like that killer mentality. We're going to go and score and put the pressure on Austintown Fitch. The Falcons held them to, I think, maybe like 2 yards in that drive, and they had to kick a long field goal. They miss it. Fitch, all they have to do now, get a field goal. Ball security, get a field goal. They did that, and they win the game. So a really impressive job by Fitch to bounce back after that week 2 loss where they blew it. They let it slip through their fingers. They'll admit that. It was a game they had control of. A lot of teams would let that, snowball, and they haven't. They came back in week 3, dominated in week 3, and then get a very gritty, very tough victory against a really good St. Ignatius team here in week 4. Now the question is for Fitch, can they keep it going? Can they be consistently good throughout the weeks? Can they keep that work ethic? Can they keep that mindset? Because their schedule is a grind. It never gets easy. So can they do it week in and week out, bring their A game every time they step on the gridiron? That's going to be the thing to watch going forward.
And speaking of schedule, and we might have a chance to discuss it a little more when the game comes up, but they have, I believe it's next week's game is the big one with Ursuline.
Yep.
So what do you think about that game right now? Ursuline is undefeated right now.
Yep.
So they're looking super strong. What do you think are going to be? I know it's early; it's a week away, but what do you think will be some of the keys to that one? And give me one aspect of both teams, Ursuline and Fitch, that has impressed you the most.
All right. I'll give my sneaky suspicions of that game, and we'll see how this week goes and what both teams look like this week, and we'll have more film to kind of dive into when we talk about week 6, of course. But right now, I think the big thing about Ursuline that was like the thing I would circle if I was Fitch is that Ursuline defense knows how to force turnovers. And as good as Deshaun Vaughn played against St. Ignatius, he did have a couple of interceptions. And Ursuline is really good at faking your quarterback out, making him see something he's not seeing. We saw them open the game with a pick six against East. They're ball hawks in that secondary. They will intercept the ball at a moment's notice, and they're a really good defense at doing that. So that's like, can Deshaun Vaughn have good ball security and not put the ball in danger? Can he do that without sacrificing his spectacular big play ability too? Because you don't want to put too many restrictions on Deshaun Vaughn because he's such a good athlete. You want to be able to loosen up the reins and let him go, but you also want to find that happy medium where he's doing that, but he's also not putting the ball at risk against this defense for Ursuline that is really good at taking the ball away and really good at running it back to the house too. They've had a lot of non-offensive touchdowns this year, and I think that's going to be a really big key for Austintown Fitch. Can they avoid the non-offensive touchdowns against an already good Ursuline team?
And it's one of those things on any level. You just want, if you have a star player that you want to feature, you want them to be that. You want there to be that balance of, okay, I'm gonna do what I can do, what kind of makes me special, and take some chances, but you also want to be smart with the football.
Coach Parker, one of the things he's really good at Austintown Fitch is letting his guys be themselves. Like, hey, go be you. Go, play the game like you want to play the game. I'm not going to hold you back from doing that. But most of his players also are very smart and don't make a lot of boneheaded mistakes and don't shoot themselves in the foot too much on the field. So I think he's really good at that. And Deshaun Vaughn in that game, I think he'll have that lesson. Like, hey, in this game especially, this Ursuline defense, like I said, they're really good at taking the ball away. So you have to make sure that you are yourself. You be yourself. You play the game the way that you know how to play it, but you're also very aware of how important ball security is in this game. So you can do that. You can be a spectacular quarterback that this makes a lot of athletic plays and protect the ball. It's possible to do, and Deshaun Vaughn has done it before. So TJ Parker, I think in that week is going to be hammering it into his head, like, hey, we have to protect the ball, but we can't let that stop you from being you and doing all the really spectacular things that you're doing on the football field. So, and then Fitch can take away the ball too. I mean, they've forced a lot of turnovers this season. Deshaun Vaughn actually is a very good secondary player. So, we'll see how that works on the other side. But Ursuline, they have been pretty good at keeping the ball in their possession this year, which has been a trouble spot in years past, Scotty. Last year, they did have a lot of turnovers, and they've been really good at keeping that in check this year for the most part.
One final thing, I know we're up against it now, but one final thing on this game, because of that, you've talked about Ursuline's opportunistic defense and even how Fitch could, they can take the ball away. Because of that, do you expect this game to be more kind of, physical and low scoring, or are you expecting a more high scoring affair?
I think it's going to be high scoring, but not as high as people expect. I think both defenses will have flashes here and there where they make really big plays and maybe end quality drives. So I would say like those games that like you expect to be, 45-40, but end up actually being in that 27-24 kind of range. That's what I kind of expect. I think both these defenses are really good. They have big playmakers, but it's also hard to keep these offenses down. So I think you're going to see that kind of game where the offenses have their moments, the defenses have their moments, and because of that, it's right in that middle sweet spot of football. It's right in that 24, 28, maybe 31 type game. I would be shocked if it went into the 40s with these defenses and the way they play.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and both teams really impressive.
I mean, yeah, because just it popped in my head. Like, people aren't talking about Fitch's defense against St. Ignatius. They allowed 14 points in regulation. That's pretty dang impressive. So Fitch's defense played really well in week 4, just like their offense definitely did in the crunch time. Before we go, Scotty, let's go over the games that are going to be on the network tonight and see what we got. Wednesday, we are on Wednesday, September 13th, obviously. And like most Wednesdays, a little bit slower than your Tuesdays and Thursdays, but still plenty of action. We have 3 volleyball games on the network tonight. Chris Sigler going to head over to East Liverpool. They'll try to bounce back from their second loss of the season last night, falling to Oak Glen. They have Indian Creek in the Potter Fieldhouse tonight. 6:30 is your start time. Chris Sigler will be there for that. Heartland Christian goes to Columbiana as the Clippers riding high off their win from Wellsville. Joe Eusebio will be on the call there. And then Ty Bartell going to Garrettsville Garfield as the G-Men try to bounce back from their loss to Crestview last night. They are welcoming in Jackson Milton. Also going on tonight, we have Edison hosting St. Clairsville, Edgewood and Lakeside doing battle in Ashtabula County, Struthers going to Jefferson in an old NE8 battle. Niles will go to Champion tonight. And then we go to soccer. We have 3 girls soccer matchups on the network tonight. 4 girls soccer matchups. Matt Marr and Noah Ricks are going to be tandeming the call with Howland versus Canfield, the big one in the AAC. Ava Yanucci versus Macy Toporce are 2 of the best players that we have in the family squaring off tonight between the Tigers and Cardinals. Crestview goes to Champion. CJ Bacco will be on the call there. Luke Davis is going to be in Salem. Riley Hutton has a really good chance of breaking the school record for goals in a career. She needs 3 of them tonight, which is very doable for her as they host Minerva. Eric Hughes is going to be on the call in girls soccer as Niles goes on to play Hubbard. 1 boys soccer game on the network tonight, and that's CJ Bacco doing the doubleheader as Champion boys will play after the Champion girls. So still plenty on the network tonight. ysnlive.com/live is where you can find it. And we'll be back tomorrow with more Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. 1 to 2 is where you can find us. And enjoy the rest of the evening, everybody. We'll